What's going on? What's going on? I know some of you guys are going to be kind of probably jumping in here and there. I'm broadcasting this from San Diego. I'm on my laptop. I have a dinner to go to this evening with a bunch of attorneys with my wife down here. She's at a conference learning about web and internet stuff so she can keep me out of trouble. Not going to happen. So tonight, it's going to be a good call. It's going to be about niching. The riches are in the niches, bitches. Brad will not be joining us tonight. I gave him the night off so he could keep grinding his face off for us. And the good part about this is I had some time in the hotel room today to work on, I don't know if I'm going to call it a presentation, but I did an outline, and that's better than what I ever did in school, college, high school. So I got an outline of something for you guys to follow, and I'm gonna let you guys download that. I want to tell you right up front, I have not edited. I have not. It's basically how I talk. So lots of like sentences, dot, 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 sentence, dot, 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 total grammar nightmare would make Brad's skin crawl. But that's just how I roll because I want to get something done in perfect action. It's exactly the way I train you guys to get out there and do stuff is don't get caught up in the minutia. Oops. Don't get caught up in the minutia of everything having to be so perfect in order to get it out into space. Sometimes that will hold you back in business. So we're going to talk about how you pick a niche, some of the common problems that I see. Now, everyone who's going to be on this, I know right now people are still logging on. Everyone that's going to be on this is going to be in different spaces of their business. So some people are just brand new to job killing, and some people have been in job killing for years that are on this. And so take it with a grain of salt. If you have pieces of your process you want to add into it that I'm not teaching you guys, that's totally cool. These are just some of the things that I go through each and every time before I pick a niche. Okay. So let me hop on over to my trusty outline. And like I said, I will export this in a PDF and I will put it below or upload it into the file section for you guys. And in 3.0, this will be a part of 3.0, just so you guys know. And there'll be some video training that goes along with it. So the first thing that I will tell you guys that you guys need to make sure you're doing is you need to understand that low-hanging fruit video that we put in the training, the webinar, in depth. I'm actually going to go and do some searches live with you guys. By the way, I can't see any comments if anyone's commenting because I have two screens. I normally have two different monitors. I have split screen right now. So if you're commenting, I can't see it, so don't take it personal. So let me go over here to screen share, and let's share one of my screens here. We'll grab this one real quick. Okay, steps to picking your niche. Okay, 1 second, bear with me here. Okay, so I'm gonna just do a quick search so we can get our heads kind of wrapped around this a little bit. So as you guys see on the screen, I just did a quick Google search for Beverly Hills plastic surgery, and the reason I use this is what I use in the low-hanging fruit video. But I really want to point a couple things out that I think some people just skip over, or they get totally I don't know, caught up in, again, minutia. This would not be a low-hanging fruit niche. I think we can all understand why, because it's Beverly Hills and it's a very high-ticket niche. But really, the thing that I'm trying to kind of point out to you guys is each one of these three listings you're going to see here in right in the search, right in the organic search. You even see Yelp in here, which contradicts what I'm going to tell you later on in some of the training texts that I look at. But generally speaking, when you see like a Yelp or a Thumbtack, now in this niche, I bet you they're actually optimizing for it, because I would just see that a Yelp or someone like that would be going for something that in that big of a space and that well known of an area, right? But oftentimes in local, when you're searching for your local, you know, I don't know, hairstylist or something like that, the Yelps and the Thumbtacks of the world, they're really not optimizing for your little town or your little marketplace, even though they're showing up. Generally, they show up just by way of their authority. So they've been around a long time. They're authoritative domain, but there's not someone actually doing SEO per se and link building to most internal Yelp pages, let's say. Okay, so I want that to be understood. I'm going to see if I can pull up one other example. I'll pull it up in just a second. So if we're looking at this, right, we basically, for anyone that's brand new, we basically are, what I'm trying to correlate is first listing, Beverly Hills Plastic Surgery Inc. It's right there. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on this, so don't think I'm going to go through the same training I did. This is just to get people caught up to speed. Nazarene Plastic Surgery, we see that, I believe, right there. And then we see Beverly Hills Plastic Surgery Group, and that's their domain, and we see that right there. So pretty stiff competition, right? All three right on the front page. Number one is number one, and the rest of them kind of fall in line. And so this would be absolutely a niche that I would probably run for the hills, maybe even the Hollywood Hills. This would be a niche that I'd run for the hills on. I just don't want to get in this type of a bloodbath with fighting against this difficult of a niche. And so what you'll see is, and again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on this. I'm just trying to get everyone up to speed. El Dorado Hills limousine as an example. You'll notice here is there's so little competition. There's not even 3 spaces built out here for El Dorado Hills limo service, right? A lot smaller town. And this is an example where you're going to see like a Yelp pop up where people will ask me, Dan, if Yelp's there, they're such a big, strong name. Am I going to be able to beat them? And my answer to that is generally absolutely. I mean, ultimately, Google would rather show off a local site than a Yelp or a Thumbtack or one of these directory sites that's lower value to the end consumer. I mean, Google is a directory, right? So that's why they have their directory listings up here at the top. So to me, this is always a pretty good indicator, other than in that last example I told you where we could see by the map listings and the organic listings that it's a pretty tough marketplace. But here in this example, let's see what the first website is, El Dorado Hills Limo. So if we go down here, it's not on page 1. The organic listing is not on page 1, right? And we look at number 2, and it's Angelique Limos, I think, is the .com. Let's see if we see it on page 1 here. I don't see it on page 1. Let's go to page 2. So there it is right there. So there's that one, and let's see if we can find that other first one. But just a perfect example. And this isn't meaning this is a perfect niche, by the way. Perfect example is there's some holes here. There's some holes we can fill here. It's not very strong, right? It's very weak. There's not even 3 listings. Now, I talk about this later on in the document, and I say, like, look, you have to be a business owner first, an entrepreneur first, and you have to be able to look at things not just through the lens of being a search engine person. What I mean by that is as a search engine person, as someone that just does search, if we didn't have to worry about calls and business being generated and we just were looking at this, this would look like a fantastic niche to enter into. This would be considered really, really low-hanging fruit. 2 out of 3 of the map spots are only there. Both listings aren't even on page 1, or both organics aren't even on page 1, let alone page 2. I think the second one wasn't even, or the first one wasn't even on page 2. So this would constitute something that's like incredibly low-hanging fruit, except for, and this is the big except is, does the market actually have enough people buying limousines to constitute you going into this market, or do these 2 companies have it so locked down that they're going, dude, we wouldn't take leads from you even if you did have 1 million of them, because we're going to get all the business anyway. Okay, so those are 2 things that I talk about later in the document. I'm going to show you the document here. I talk about it later in the document about picking your first niche, but I really wanted people to get back to our core roots of what is and what isn't low-hanging fruit from a search standpoint. The business standpoint is secondary once you've identified low-hanging fruit from a search standpoint, okay? So let's kind of keep moving here. Okay. I'm not going to read this to you. You guys can read it obviously when you get the when you get the document. But I'm really, 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 really strong, and I'm opinionated on not going into overly cliche niches. Okay. And I want to show you guys some ways you guys can look up stuff and start wrapping your heads around things that are not cliche. And let's do some of them together, because I see so many people in job killing going into the same niches. And it's just like, guys, these are getting played out, and they probably aren't, but they're like, man, think outside the box. And I give an example. I think someone wrote it in the group the other day, of helicopter boar hunting guide. You know, is that going to have tons and tons of search behind it? No, probably not. Okay. But to me, it shows someone really thinking outside the box. And I think that's probably where I want you guys going more than anything, is not thinking that it's just going to be the same plumber, electrician, plastic surgeon, dentist, that type of thing. Okay, get you kind of thinking outside the lines a little bit. So I gave you guys a couple things that I want you to do. Yellow book, I talk about this all the time. I think it's really healthy to grab a yellow book, the old way that businesses used to market, the old way that businesses used to freaking get customers and leads. Pull that thing open, start thumbing through the A's, grab a notepad, get off the computer. Don't do this on yellowbook.com or dex.com or whatever. Get off the computer, take a notepad, and just start jogging your memory. Just start adding places down that are different, that are interesting, that maybe you don't know anything about, and they sound interesting, and they sound like there could be something that might be and might end up being really, really low-hanging fruit. I can tell you that traditionally, the ones that you can think off the top of your head will probably not be, not always, but will probably not be low-hanging fruit, which is why when you listen to how I got started in this, by chance, I jumped into the taxi business. Now, I've seen some people try to go into the taxi business. Now, I would not recommend it. Since going into the taxi business, this little thing called Uber came along, because I did this back in 2008, right when no one knew who they were. And now every town, every place you go has an Uber or Lyft that you're going to be competing with, and it's way more convenient than the old school taxi business, right? But because I was thinking a little bit outside the box when I started, my very first niche I went into was a home run. Okay. And so I'm trying to get you guys in the space of hitting home runs on your first bat, or at least hitting a single or a double or something, even a bunt. I'm cool with a bunt, make a couple $100 a month and move on to the next niche, right? But take a yellow book, start thumbing through, start writing down niches that are different. If we can go and look at Thumbtack, I think this is a service that you guys really, really should be paying more attention to. Google invested God knows how much money into them. Here, let's look. Let's look. How much money did Google invest in Thumbtack? I just want to know. So sorry, bear with me. How much did Google invest into Thumbtack? $100 million investment. I think Google believes in local lead gen with 100 milli. Okay, let's go back to the actual search though. Okay, Thumbtack. Here we go. All right, I gave you the actual link in the document, but basically in Thumbtack, you can click and you can go to all of their services, and you can start looking at different things. I mean, just as we look through stuff here, we can kind of we can jog our memory, right? And these are different things that I would start jotting down maybe if you know someone in one of these niches, or maybe if you've had some experience, maybe you've spent some money in some of these niches and you can have an easy in to talk to someone. I want you to start looking through these things. The other thing I want you to kind of keep on the top of your brain is, are these phone-driven businesses? Right off the bat, of course, you guys can do what we teach you for any business. You guys could do this for brick and mortar. You can do this for phone-driven businesses, what have you. But if we're talking specifically building out your own lead generation property, let's be honest, a phone-driven business is easier to pull off than a brick and mortar. And the reason why is a brick and mortar or a physical location, when you list it on the map, there's the potential that the customer is going to drive to that mailbox or to wherever you put that actual listing, which then in theory will throw them off and you'll lose the lead. Where a phone-driven business, their only ability to contact you is, of course, through the phone. Believe it or not, guys, I get that question every day for the last 2 years, and I don't know how better to explain it other than what I just told you. phone driven versus a brick and mortar physical location. Here's why I look for phone driven when I'm going into lead generation properties, so they don't bypass me, or so someone doesn't report my listing and say, well, that's a UPS box, or that's a mailbox. That's not a window tint shop, or whatever. Okay. If you want to do just straight SEO for a business, then you're not going to be probably searching for niches, right? Because the niche searching is when you're building out a lead gen property. Okay. So let's keep moving here. So I'm looking through all this stuff. Tons and tons of different ideas. Closet organizers. Now, is that going to have a ton of search? I don't know. It depends on how big the market is. This is the type of niche, closet organizer or something along those ones, like garage organizer, what have you. These might be niches that you have to get outside of the 50 to 350,000 population, and you got to go into a several million person population because there's that many less buyers. And that would be a situation where that would probably be fine to kind of bend the rules on the rules Brad and I give you. Remember, we have to give you absolutes in job killing because we're trying to cut out as many of the things, the variables that we know may end up jacking you up a little bit or slowing you down. So we say, hey, stay between 50 to 350 in your population. But does that mean people aren't in really, really big markets crushing it? Absolutely not. But I still believe it comes in identifying the right types of niches up front. Okay, so let's keep looking here. I'm just going to kind of look through and we'll do some searches here. All right. Let's look here. None of these fit my bill. I'm not going to go into writing transcription. Repair and technical support. Appliance repair is not bad. I think it's probably a pretty nailed niche, but it's not the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking lead gen is appliance repair. I know Delane might be watching this. He could tell us a lot about that niche. He's in it. Let's see here. So look at it. Look, some of these are just weird, right? Exercise equipment repair. Again, probably not a highly searched niche, but probably not that many players in the niche. Let's just take a look real quick. Exercise. I can't spell, whatever. Equipment repair Folsom. Oh, see, I'm an idiot. Cool. All right. So we got one listing over here. So obviously there's not a ton of people in Folsom, California. Now let's go to a bigger market like Sacramento, right? This would go more to the widening out. And then what do you know? There's more people serving Sacramento because obviously there's more human beings there, right? So now we start to see more companies, what have you. Again, not necessarily a phone-driven business. I bet you a lot of these people, you have to, well, maybe not all, but many of them you might have to go to the actual location. But just kind of giving you the example of Folsom's 170,000 population, where Sacramento is probably 900,000, I would guess. I'm just throwing, I don't know. Let's just look real quick. What's the population of Sacramento? Population of Sacramento. Wow, it's smaller than I thought. Wow, that's pretty cool. So 479, but you see the difference. Now let's put exercise equipment San Francisco. Spelled every word wrong just to see if Google was on its toes, so don't you worry. So now in San Francisco, which is quite a bit larger, we got tons of them, right? A lot more. So you see how that, as you get into the super obscure niches, if you're in too small of a market, it's probably not going to work because there's not going to be enough humans searching for one of those obscure niches, right? Anyway, I'm trying to teach you guys this stuff because I think when we train you guys on niching, you'll see someone in the job killing group do something, but you won't take in all the other variables that would go into finding a good niche that's going to produce fruit every month. And by fruit, I mean leads, right? Because that's all that really matters. So anyway, so this is one area. Thumbtack's got a great place you can go through. You can come up with different ideas, tons of different services in here. You can kind of sift through, get ideas, but it's surely not everything, right? So let's go back to the document. Porch.com. I don't know if many of you guys have been there. But Porch.com is kind of like a Thumbtack, but it's another good place to see. I'm in San Diego right now, so let's say I'm looking for, I don't know. Let's see what their different services are. So professionals by city. Let's do professionals by city. Professionals by city. Let's see if we can get a San Diego. San Diego's decent. Am I missing it? Like a lot of categories in Los Angeles. Wow. See what they're going after, by the way? This just goes to prove what I'm saying about the obscure niches. Okay, everyone's going for electrician, plumbers, roofers, right? These big companies like Porch, they're optimizing for it, right? These are their top popular categories. Look, general contractors, window contractors, flooring, all these things, painters, plumbers, electricians. It's all the niches that everyone's thinking about. It's all the niches that everyone's trying to get the leads for. But let's face it, guys, if we're over on Thumbtack, every one of these businesses making some sort of income every month in order to stay in business. So all these businesses need leads in some capacity, right? Even as silly as dog walking or dog sitting or all these things, dog training. These are all niches that there's actual businesses that need customers. So don't fall into the trap of going where everyone goes. Okay, you go to the fishing hole where everyone's fishing. Good luck. Good luck catching a fish. I'm not saying you won't catch a fish because there's probably fish in that hole. Like we know that there's leads in these holes. But in theory, I probably wouldn't go there. So let's just pick a city at random. We'll do Portland. That's close to home, close to where I used to live. So here we go. So we got Porch. So let's just say handyman. That's fine. Let's just look at handyman real quick as an example. Give it a second to load. Oh, crap. I don't know a Portland zip code. Here we go. Some more. Where did I go? Let's see, window services. Good God. Probably shouldn't have went through this because I'm generating a lead from. I'm just trying to get to the actual pro. I know you can find all the professionals in one spot. Let's try this again. Just trying to show you where you can. It's gonna ask me for a whole lead. You can go on there. You can mess around on Porch. Porch has changed a little bit, but again, it's another place where you can go find different niches. They do work a lot in the home service niche, but you're gonna be able to find niches in there, and you're gonna find the people that are advertising on sites like Porch, right? Anyone that's advertising on a site like Porch wants leads, right? Same thing with Thumbtack. Thumbtack is a spot. Top 10 carpet. This is cliche, but top 10 carpet cleaners. Folsom. Thumbtack. Okay, let's see if they let me through here. Top 10 best commercial, top 10 carpet cleaners, Folsom. A lot of times they don't always let you through. No. There we go. There we go. So these guys are on Thumbtack. These guys are sold on leads up in the marketplace. Okay, let's keep going. This one's paying for a spotlight, it looks like, or they got into a spotlight on Thumbtack, Rodriguez Cleaning Solutions. So again, another place when you've kind of identified a niche to come over to the Thumbtacks of the world or the Porches of the world and see who's buying leads. If they're buying leads here, then most likely they'd be interested in the leads that you have for them. They're sold on getting more business, okay? Let's keep going. Okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but another thing that many of you guys forget to go over to is Home Advisor. And I got an actual link deep into Home Advisor. I thought, oh, of course I screwed it up. Hold on a second. See if this works. There we go. Fix that in the download. So check this out. So in the PDF I'm gonna have for you guys, you can click right on it and go right to this. Again, it's another place where you can come up with tons of ideas, tons and tons of niche ideas that the average person isn't necessarily thinking about. Okay. Great niches, by the way. And I guarantee you some low-hanging fruit niches. Definitely. Let's keep going through here. Oops. Go back here. Look, yeah. Sorry, I can't see comments if people are asking me questions. I'm just trying to show you guys how you do some basic niche searching, looking for different ideas here. I like this TV wall mount. I know I just paid for that. kind of, it's not going to query a map, right? Yeah, so it's going to, yeah, so I'm not going to query a map for everything. So sometimes when you pick a niche, that's another thing to kind of point out to you guys. Sometimes when you pick a niche, it doesn't always mean it's going to query a map, but that doesn't always mean you can't go into it strictly organically, you know? So you might be able to go in TV wall mounting. Look, there's the Google, their new little handyman service. They're trying to get into the ad game as well. Okay. You can go in here though, and you could rank right up in here, just with one of your just with one of your Weebly sites, guys. So don't always knock that out as a solution if the niche looks good, right? If there's some opportunity in the niche for you to go in and dominate, you don't always have to be in the map or in the sponsored listings. Okay. So that's something to look at, okay? Let's go back to our list. So we got Home Advisor, we got Thumbtack, we got Porch, we got the Yellow Book. I need to fix that change. You put an L at the end there for you guys. Okay. Also Sales Genie. I'm not going to jump into Sales Genie on this right here. But Sales Genie is another place that you guys should be using it. Where I would like you guys using Sales Genie is for a couple different things. I want you to go into the free trial of Sales Genie, and I want you using Sales Genie to also look at how much and how many of the clients are there. Okay, so how much, meaning how many of the marketplace, how many businesses are in that marketplace. So if it was siding repair or something along those lines, vinyl windows or whatever. How many businesses are selling that? Is there 2 that are saying that Sales Genies are saying in the marketplace, or is there 20? Okay, because if there's 20, that means there's a lot of customers buying that, and I think that's really, really important. Now here's the one little thing I want you guys to know: in every market, in every niche, in every city, in every country, there's different laws that apply. So in some marketplaces, you can't have advertised a contractor's business without a contractor's license. It's just the way it is. It's nothing to get hung up on. Is there ways around it? Yeah, there's probably some ways around it, but you have to call your local or state municipalities or search for it on Google if you need a license for that specific industry or niche. The last thing I want you guys doing is getting a silly fine by the state who wants to have their hands in regulations and everything and saying, hey, you can't have this website up because you don't have a CCB number or a, whatever number they want to call it. But what I would encourage you guys to do is call up and say, do I need to have some sort of writing on my site if this is a registered or a licensed industry? Because obviously Thumbtack does it and some of these other services do it. So there's ways around it. There's ways to navigate it. But I want you guys to make sure that you research the niche in its entirety before just jumping into a niche that may be a licensed trade that you could get a fine for. Now, I've been in niches that are licensed trades. And so what I will do is I'll actually sell the lead gen strategy up front. I'm going to repeat this. I'll actually sell the lead gen strategy up front. And then I'll simply, with the company that I'm partnered with and working with, I will simply let them information, their CCB number, their license number on my sites, all my properties, so I'm in compliance. Okay? So I'm going to repeat that. If you get into a licensed space and you're like, well, Dan, I can't go into a licensed space because I don't have someone to work with. Well, that's your cue if you want to be in that space to get out of your own way, to go make some contacts, maybe go on Thumbtack and see who's buying leads, maybe go on Google AdWords and see who's running advertisements. And that's your way to say, maybe you call them up first or send them an email and say, hey, I'm starting to get leads in the XYZ niche, okay, and I'm looking for a business to partner with, okay? And maybe you haven't got a lead yet, but you can still say it. Hey, I'm starting to get leads in the XYZ niche, okay? And I'm looking to partner with someone in this niche. Would you be someone that'd be interested in partnering? I could send you the leads, send the leads your way. And that's an easy way to get in the door and start working with someone that you could partner with, and then you could start generating leads on a flat fee or a per lead fee or what have you, okay? All I'm telling you guys is note, please check with your state, your local, your country. Every country, we're all over the world with job killing, so every country and every state and city is a little bit different. So just check up on that stuff. But like I said, there's thousands of niches that don't need any licensing whatsoever, and you don't have to freak yourself out, okay? This is what I spoke about at the very start of this video or webinar or whatever we're calling this thing, this hangout. if you see Yelp or Thumbtack or some of these national companies in the organic search of page one, don't let that bother you. This is generally a sign that there's an actual bit that the actual businesses in the market are not that strong, since they are not on page one. Okay, Google would rather show a local website that is relevant to the marketplace than a national directory like a Yelp, who is almost like a direct competitor, since they're selling advertising just as Google sells advertising. Now, by way of the search engines and antitrust laws, Yelp is going to show up. Thumbtack is going to show up. These different directories will show up just by sheer volume of the content that they've put up and being relevant and being authoritative. But I can tell you, if that's what's deterring you to go into a local organic niche, it should not be. Look at all the other factors that I teach you guys in the low-hanging fruit. Use a SEO Quake or an SEM Rush, the free versions. You don't have to buy them. You can use the free versions. And look at how strong those companies are. You know, if the main listings in the market, the main, not the Yelps and the Thumbtacks, but the main organic listings are super strong, and they got great backlinks and all that stuff, and they're ranked #1 on organic and in maps and all the way down like I teach you, then maybe that's a little bit too tough that you want to get into that battle. But you got to use some business savviness. And I know the first time going through picking niches, it's so frightening, because what if I do it wrong? Or, you know, what if I screwed it up? Guys, that's part of this game. You got to get a feel for it. You got to get in there. You got to make your first couple mistakes, man. I still make mistakes to this day. I still have opinions on things that may be incorrect, but I'm decisive on them, and I don't sit around and wait till everything's perfect for me to make a decision. I don't want you guys doing the same either. I want you guys to take what I'm giving you here and how to pick a niche. I want you to move into a niche rapidly, and I want you guys to learn from going into that niche. Learn the pros and cons. Learn the things that went well. Learn the things that didn't go well, and move on to your next niche after them. Generally, the reason why people don't want to go into a niche and make that quote unquote mistake is because of money, right? Oh, well, what if I go into it and I spend money on content and citations and backlinks? And it's like, guys, I got to be honest with you. We're in one of the highest profit businesses on planet Earth. You go and see your accountant after you do a year of job killing and you start getting local lead gen deals and SEO deals, and they look at your actual expenses to run these businesses, and they'll be like, dude, what do you do? This is ridiculous. You have no expenses. In all reality, our expenses to run these businesses are so minimal. They're so minimal that we have it good. But I get it. When things are tight, things are tight. And when you guys are just getting started out, things are often tight. Okay. So if things are tight, you got to go out and find other ways to make money. You got to take some of the slivers that I give you guys. You got to go sell some stuff sometimes up front, or you got to be willing to put it on a credit card like 99% of other business owners do, and be willing to be all in on your business. Most small business owners, the business owners you're selling to, the electrician or the roofer or the plumber or the limo owner or the carpet cleaner, these people put 10, 20, 30, 50, 200, 400, 500 million dollars into their business before they turn a profit. Sometimes we've spent a couple $100 and we're freaking ourselves out. Ask yourself the question, are you really being reasonable with your business if you spend a couple bucks here, if you spend a couple bucks there and you didn't get a return right away? Okay, you might go into 3, 4, 5 niches before the first one hits, but when that first one hits and it's $750, $1,000 a month, and you have that client for the next 5 years, and you got a total of a couple $100 a year going into it ongoing for maintenance, aren't you feeling pretty darn good? And the other 4 you lost on aren't that bad, right? Many of you guys, if you guys are in the game, oh crap, I got to pull the game stats. Many of you guys that are in the game, okay, if you're not in the game, you got to get in the game. And if you need an explanation, go into the group and type "the game," and you're going to see the video I made about it. But if you're in the game, guys, you'll see us having you guys do these daily actions every day and being involved in your business every day. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving on in this niche stuff. So we'll go up here. I want you guys, I said this before, I want you guys to use basic reasoning when jumping into a niche. Some niches have more searches than others, like I showed you above, right? So for instance, helicopter boar hunting versus taxi service, one is going to have more searches than the other. Let's just be honest, right? And so this is where common sense comes into play. This is where you guys got to not go into the Facebook group and just say, hey, what do you think has more searches, taxis or helicopter boar hunting? Because it's, you know, the answer. You guys sometimes got to stop putting everything into the Facebook group and start just asking yourselves, you know, if you were in 12th grade again and the teacher asked you to answer the question, come up with a response, okay? Now, common sense, I know for some people it waved bye-bye long ago, but let's get it all back in and let's use this common sense to build this business. Let's use some basic reasoning. And when I say basic reasoning, I'm going to go through what that means for me. Many of us get hooked on tools. Hey, I need a keyword tool. I need the keyword planner. I need this. I need that. I need this. I need that. Okay? No, you don't. You need basic reasoning. I don't use any of that crap. The reason why is local keyword tools are bullshit. Okay? You heard that. Bullshit. They don't work. They haven't worked. They've been saying the same crap for years and years and years, and they're wrong. Okay? Google has consistently put out incorrect data as it pertains to local searches. So if you're going to rely on the Google keyword tool or any of the other tools that use Google keywords tools, metrics, and API, you're going to get data that I believe is inconclusive and incorrect. And I can prove this to you because my very first business, the taxi service, that I went on Google keyword tool when I was a tool fanatic early on, and I typed taxi in for my market, and it said it got like 210 or 510 searches. And I was like, gosh, that seems weird. There's like 100 taxi cabs in my town. How does it have so few searches? Like, I don't get it. Like, there's got to be more searches to it. Well, I didn't pay attention to it. Luckily enough, I went into the taxi space, and 3,000 calls a month later, and I'm not even the biggest player in that market, it shows me really, really quickly that Google keyword tool is incorrect. And the data that I was reading off it was incorrect. And if I would have listened to that data instead of listening to the gut feeling of, gosh, there's got to be more taxi searches going on in this market, because there would be no way for all these companies to stay afloat if there wasn't. If I wouldn't use common sense in my gut instead of just the data that I was able to find online, I would not be making the $3,200 a month that I've been making for the last 8 years from the taxi client that I landed. Okay, you guys can do the math. It's close to $300,000. That would have been a big screw up. It's like a whole house. Okay, so I'm not big on keyword tools. I'm not saying you can't use them as just a barometer test in certain niches or bigger niches or what have you, but I'm saying use common sense too. Okay, so what I mean by that, if you're in 100,000 person population as an example, and we took dentists as an example, okay, not everyone has the luxury of going to a dentist, but I would say there's a big amount that do, and because their teeth will fall out otherwise. But there's probably, out of 100,000 people, my gut feeling, and I could be 5 or 10 or 20% off, but I said, hey, I think at some point 95% of this population goes to see a dentist. So out of the 100,000 people, 95,000 of them see the dentist. And again, I use this, and I'm sure I could do a Google search for this. I'm sure this data is actually out there. I would say, okay, how often does the average person, actually, let's do it. How often does the average person see a dentist? Let's look. Let's just see. I guessed 18 months. I didn't look at this, so let's just see. I don't want to watch this video though. Adults being indexed, found the percentage of adults US went to the dentist to 64.7. So my number was way off. Yeah, that's good. I'll fix that. So it's upgrading. However, they found that biggest difference across. I'm not sure. I'll find it. I don't want to bore you guys with this, but with a couple Google searches that are, by the way, free with your job killing tuition, you get as many as you want. With a couple free Google searches, I could probably get the exact number to be able to do this mathematical equation, but I didn't go look it up. I used gut reaction. So I said, hey, out of 100,000 person population, I think 95. This will now be 65%. So 65,000 people see the dentist. Now I said, how often though? Okay, because that number, maybe it's every year, maybe it's every 18 months. I guessed 18 months, okay? So for me, I took 95,000 people as my gut, my hypothesis. I'm a scientist over here, by the way. I took my hypothesis of 95,000 people in the marketplace. I said, I guess these cheap bastards only go freaking once every year and a half, okay? Because that's probably what I would do because I brush my teeth really well, okay? So 95,000 divided by 18 months says that 5,277 people based on my hypothesis. Again, all gut reactions, all me basically just trying to model this in my brain and project. Now, if any of you guys have been through business school, which I have not, by the way, but I've listened to Shark Tank enough that I feel like I've been through business school, they'll tell you, listen, what are your projections? What are your sales, right? So all business people, when you're starting a business, you got to make some projections. The same thing is true with what we're doing. Now, sometimes doing background research like we were just doing and actually getting real data instead of just gut data is smart. So I would encourage those free Google searches. But, you know, having some basic I can't speak. You know what I'm saying? Having some basic guesses on what this might be in the marketplace is a good way to identify what may be going on your niche. So I just said, okay, 95,000 people. I believe every 18 months they're going, which leads every month 5,277 people searching for a dentist of some sort in this marketplace of 100,000. Okay, I didn't think that was too far off. Okay, so then I said, you know, then I got to take into account the thing that search doesn't take into account. This is why I'm telling you guys to use common sense instead of just data from search, incorrect search keyword tools. Because I said, well, let's think about this. My dentist, I already know who he is. Okay, I already know, I don't know his number, so I go online and I search for it, you know, dentist, whatever, right? And so a lot of the searches that might be going on might be people that are just searching for the phone number of the dentist, okay, that there already is their caregiver. They're a repeat customer, right? And so that plays into these numbers, right? So this gets me saying, I said, okay, so if I had to guess how many repeat customers are versus not, and I have no idea how, I just pulled the number. I said, let's just say 50% of the searches are people that are just looking for their general practitioner that they're already a client of, and the other 50% are maybe new movers to town. Maybe they want to switch dentists up. Maybe this is who knows, okay? Which then you'd take that 5,277 searches hypothesis and you'd cut that in half and say, okay, there's only, what is it, 2,600 searches maybe going on per month, and now I got to compete for those 2,600 searches. So if I'm number one on Google, I might get 29% of those. So do the math on that. It's 29% of 2,600 is roughly 369. Is that 9? I think that's 900 people. Is that correct? Somewhere in that neighborhood. So you might have 900 potential leads if you were number one. If you're number two, it's like 13%. So it drops, right? So 13% of 26 is what? To 300 and some. Okay, so this is all important, and hopefully this is not just me rambling. Hopefully you guys are kind of seeing like how I look at a niche before going into it. I look at it as if I was a dentist. In this case, I was a dentist going into this marketplace knowing here's the population, here's how many people potentially would get their teeth cleaned or teeth worked on every month. There's a potential of 100,000, but statistics say that 65%, or in my case, I guess 95%, but 65% of those people, so 65,000 people are actually getting their teeth dialed. I'm going to fix this so I don't look like a moron. 65% of the people are actually getting it done. So 65,000 people out of the market are actually getting it done, blah, blah, blah. And this is how I go through my progressions. I use common sense rather than just simple data. And then I'm going to go and look at the thing that I think is really important that most of us totally mess up on. I'm going to go look at Sales Genie. And I'm going to look at Yelp. And I'm going to look at Google. And I'm going to look at the directories. And I'm going to get a list of if I was going into the dental niche, which I'm not, but if I was, I would get a list of all the dentists that are actually practicing in this town of 100,000 people. And I'm going to say, okay, now I have a kind of a hypothesis on how many people I think are searching, just awesome basic ideas. And now I have how many people are potential serving those. So now I can kind of look at, here's the data. Here's the amount of, if there's only 3 dentists out of the 100,000, I'm scared. I'm like, wow, how the heck are they serving all these people? You know, maybe there's not as big of a market space as I think. If there's 30, I might be going, wow, there's a lot of people getting their teeth done in this town. And okay, there's some search going on for this stuff. I can enter this market and I can take a little sliver of the action, which is what I did with taxis. I took a little sliver. 3,000 is, gosh, it's probably 1/10 of all the calls that are happening every month in Eugene. By the way, in Eugene where I did that, Uber got blocked out, so my business has stayed fine. In everyone else's town, pretty much, you're screwed. So don't go into the taxi niche, and it's highly regulated, by the way. Anyway, so hopefully that kind of helps you guys get in my brain a little bit of when I look at a niche, all the little components I'm going through. Let's just kind of recap up to the top. So if you haven't watched the low-hanging fruit training, I go through the low-hanging fruit thing first and just kind of make sure you understand that. Okay, once you understand it, you don't need to go through it again. But then I'm going to go in and I'm going to start getting niche ideas. I'm going to start getting obscure niche ideas. I'm going to look at Thumbtack. I'm going to look at Porch, Home Advisor. I'm going to look at the Yellow Book. The Yellow Book is one of the best ones, I'm telling you guys, because there's no noise. You don't get freaking taken off on all these little bunny rabbit holes and you're off on, you know, Kim Kardashian just bought a freaking yacht or something website. You actually get off the internet, off the computer, and you get to have some me time and really start writing ideas down. Then come back to the computer and start adding in these next steps, right? All right, so let's keep going. Obscure niches, low-hanging fruit, right? Don't get deterred by the Yelps and the Thumbtacks if they are in the organic search. Basic reasoning, right? We want to use common sense and we want to just make some hypotheses up about how many people in the population are versus how many people use the service. Now, we talked about a service earlier. The service earlier was, I think it was closet organizing or some crap. It's like, okay, out of 100,000 people, man, do I think 65% of the people get their closets reorganized? Hell no, not a chance. So, okay, what do I think? Dude, out of 100,000 people, I bet it's less than freaking 5% that get their closets reorganized. So again, I might have wrote that niche down initially, but when I come to the common sense section of life, I would go, gosh, that's a freaking horrible idea because A, it's not high ticket enough probably, and B, it's 5% of the market, which in a 100,000 person market, that's freaking 5,000 people, and that's divided over how often do they get it done. And let's just say it's 5,000 people a year, 10, or 5% of the market a year in a 100,000 market niche, and you divide that by 12. So 5,000 divided by 12 is God, not good at math that way, but let's just try it real quick. 5,000 people divided by 12 months, 416 searches a month. No, thank you. You know, and if you're still sold on a niche that's going to be a really, really low niche, go ahead and run AdWords coupon first so you can not go and build the whole entire thing out, and you can get a feeling of what it's like to be in a niche that gets 416 searches a month, because you'll feel it right there, and you'll see how few leads you actually get. So hopefully this is making sense. Hopefully I'm not just crazy cooped up in this hotel room and you guys are going, this guy's nuts, but all making perfect sense to me. So anyway, let's keep moving. So we picked our niche. We used common sense. We used some of the basic equations. We did the basic reasoning. I'm going to keep moving here. All right, next step. I call around. Okay, I want to call around before I build anything. I'm going to call around. Okay, I'm gonna look at Sales Genie. Hey, I didn't add this one. I gotta add this one in. Go on Facebook. Go on Facebook and see who's advertising, or not advertising. See who's got a Facebook fan page. Okay, go on Facebook. See who's got a fan page. Go on Nextdoor app. See who's there for that niche. Okay. Get to know your marketplace. Get to know all the players. Do a little research on them. Stalk them a little bit. Figure out who they are. You know, find them on Twitter, find them on Facebook, find them on freaking Instagram. I saw a great thread in the group today about someone going and following businesses on Instagram with their marketing agency and then getting a client and a meeting out of it. But guys, these business owners are on these spaces. They're trying to get leads. So go and research them. Phone call them as a customer. Get some prices. Hey, how much is it for freaking closet organizing? Oh, it's freaking $600 an hour. I don't know, whatever it is. Okay, call around. Maybe if there's only one of them, then it might not be the best niche, right? If there's 100 of them, maybe it's a good niche. Maybe there's a lot of people searching for it, right? So use all these metrics to kind of bring it in, and then see how you're treated on the phone. How they treat you on the phone as a potential customer is how they're going to treat your leads. If they're a jerk, if they don't answer, if it goes to voicemail, you don't get a call back, it's not timely, guess what? Every lead you send them, you're going to go through the exact same stuff. Okay, your customers aren't going to be treated well. They're going to be not called back timely, and that's not what you want. That's not what you want in a partner. So this will help you identify who the main players in the market are that are hungry for business, right? Don't forget going over to AdWords and seeing who are running ads, by the way. Okay, that's another good place to find businesses that are hungry. If they're willing to pay freaking $3-4 a click, I promise you they're willing to pay $3-4 for a lead. Okay, if they're willing to pay $3-4 for a click, which is what most AdWords costs, between $1, $2, $3, $4 for a click, not even guaranteeing a call, they're going to be willing to pay for a lead. Okay, check them out on Thumbtack, Home Advisor, all these different places. You know, stock all the businesses in these potential niches. Okay, don't need to beat a dead horse, but I think I did. Okay, all right. I guess I already went to that spot. I already got ahead of myself. Okay, at this point, you've kind of narrowed down your niche. We've went through some obscure different searches. We've used Yellowbook. We've done all these things. We've used common sense. We've walked ourselves through. We've called around. We've looked at Sales Genie. Okay. At this point, if this is your first time through job killing, you need to pick your niche and start building it out. Okay. If you've built your first niche and you know how to get up a Weebly site and you know what a citation is and you've been through week 5 and you know what a backlink is, I'm going to tell you right here and now, you don't need to go and build the whole thing out up front. I'll repeat that. If you've already been through job killing and you understand the process and you understand all the steps that are coming in the future, you don't even have to erect the site at all in order to move to a next step. You could literally run a Google AdWords coupon to a one-page little site. If you need the strategy, go to Go Fast and Look Sexy. It's in the video below I posted in that YouTube link. Okay. You can go to Go Fast and Look Sexy and test your niche. You guys ever seen, hold on a second. Have you guys ever seen Gold Rush? Tony, who's the old crotchety dude who freaking is a millionaire, and what does he always tell people? Drill, 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 drill. Drill holes. Why does he say that? He's like, don't freaking start digging for freaking gold unless you drill a big hole. Yes, the drilling can cost money. The drilling's expensive actually in the Klondike. They bring out these huge drills. They go way down deep into the earth, and out comes this big thing of dirt. They take the dirt over to the trommel. They run the dirt through. If gold comes out, oh my gosh, we're on pay dirt. Let's freaking mine this mofo. If they drill and nothing comes out, guess what? Move on to the next niche. This is the same thing in lead gen, guys. You go through all these different things, all these different ideas. You could do this in a matter of freaking 20 minutes, by the way. Get down to Go Fast, Look Sexy if you've already been through the training of job killing, and drill holes. Drill, drill, drill holes, right? See if there's pay dirt there. Run the AdWords coupon, get some phone calls, try to pass it off to one of those business owners that was friendly or that's buying leads or that's buying AdWords. Okay. And then when they agree to working with you, then freaking go and mine your dirt, you know, then start freaking running all the diesel fuel and all the crap and spending all the money to get everything erected. Right. But you don't go set up shop with your trommel and your guys and your diesel and your freaking cats and your bobcats and all that stuff and start running dirt if there ain't any gold there. And the only way you're going to know if there's gold there is if you run freaking some holes, drill some holes, run some AdWords coupons, and see if there's leads. Now, there's one caveat to this. Oftentimes, I will see this in the group that people will say, you know, I ran $100 in AdWords, Dan, and I didn't get any calls. That doesn't always mean there's not gold in there. Okay. If the market says, if everything else lined up in the market, meaning you looked at the niche and the niche had search and, you know, it made sense. There's a lot of people in the marketplace making money. If there's businesses making money in your niche, there's gold there. You just got to find it. It could be a multitude of different things. It could be your ad sucks. Okay. It could be that, you know, you ran $100. To put this all in context, I know this, I'm not trying to big time you, but $100 is really not that deep of a drill. You know, like when they drill up in the Klondike, you know, this is like a $30,000 drill, you know, because they know that this could be a gold mine. It's the same thing that's kind of true with what we do. When we hit gold in a niche, you know, if on the low end, let's say it's $500 a month is what you bring in from one of these lead gen sites, guys, that's $6,000 a year. And we're willing to risk $25 because it only costs us $25 to run that $100 AdWords coupon, and then we're hands up. And so I'll tell you, the over time, what I've really learned from being in this space is that if you believe the niche is good and you believe people are making money in the niche, and your first $100 in AdWords coupons doesn't work out, be willing to tweak your ads, spend a little bit of money, more money out of your pocket, or be willing to, not that it's always the 100% smartest thing, but be willing to, if you really truly believe there's gold there, start freaking setting up shop. If you really truly believe, okay? Not every time do these gold miners drill, even though Tony says you have to drill, but not every time they do, and they still find gold because they know, they have the gut feeling that gold is there based off all the other research, the way the land looks, the way that, you know, other mines have went. So anyway, hopefully you guys are fantastic gold miners by the end of this Google Hangout, right? But secondly, hopefully you guys have a baseline of kind of how to strategically go through the thought process. Remember, the niches are in the obscure, or the niches, no, it's got to be your bowl. Now the riches are in the obscure niches, bitches, right? That's the line. Let that stick in your head. It's funny. I like saying it. It kind of gets you thinking, but it's true. Think outside the box. I can't tell you how much just being a copycat in business. Yeah, you might make some quick cash, but you're never going to get rich. Okay, being a copycat. Okay. Start thinking a little outside the box. Start going into other markets. Some of our top job killers are in really weird, obscure niches that you would have never thought of, right? And so you got to spend the time. Don't just go and be lazy. I think half of this business is you guys committing to just going and learning processes like this and going through the common sense hypothesis kind of scenarios that I did with you guys, and researching, using those free Google searches and researching a little bit. So you have a greater grasp on all these different industries. You know, you guys can pretty much ask me about most industries, and I have a pretty decent idea. I obviously did horrible with the dentistry. I picked 95 and it was 65, but for the most part, I've been in so many of these niches, and I've done research for the niches that I'm not in, and I have opinions about a lot of things in these niches because I've spent the time researching instead of just spending the time asking what everyone else is winning at or what everyone else is doing, because I want to learn for myself. I want to find and discover new patches of gold that I can go in and exploit the living hell out of. Okay, that's where you get rich, is when you find these little spaces. And I know there's some job killers that are in some spaces right now, and they're like, listen, this is so obscure, it's so weird, but I'm going nationwide with it. They're going vertical in the same niche in every city. They're just like, dude, this is just killer. And I'm telling you guys, those exist everywhere. Those types of niches exist everywhere. I mean, no joke, a yellow book is that thick, and every page has got niches in it. Bam, 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 bam. Okay? Starting the A's, you're going to start seeing things that you're like, what? That's an actual business? And the answer is yeah, and there's actually a lot of people selling that business, and there's a lot of people buying that service or that product. Okay, so hopefully guys, that's helpful for you. Let me pop over to the old Facebook. See if there's any questions for me. Nope, there's not, because I said I wouldn't be taking questions. So go figure, there's no questions for me. So guys, I will be posting this PDF for you guys. Obviously, this video will be up for replay if you need to go back over anything. More than anything, my advice to you guys is spend a little bit of time getting convinced on the niche you're going to go into. Stop worrying so much about, is it going to be perfect? Is it going to be wrong? And start being okay with failing fast, being okay with drilling holes, okay, AdWords coupons, and testing your marketplace, maybe spending a couple bucks before you set up shop, or unless you believe in it 100% that you know there's gold in them freaking hills, then go all in, okay? But don't let money be the reason that, you know, you fail on one niche or a Google listing gets suspended. You know what? Great, whatever. Keep moving, okay? Tons, thousands and thousands of niches, you know, millions and millions of dollars out there to be had. Hopefully that helps you guys. I will, by the way, I'm going to tell you guys, I don't say this often. On Tuesday, mark my words, I have a very special guest that will be on live with us. So special that I promise you, you don't want to miss it. So here's your fair warning. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I got a guy that all of us want to talk to. I think I want to talk to him. Interview, and you're going to want to be on Tuesdays. Tuesdays live stream. We'll put it in the group. That's all I got for you guys. Have a good Thursday. Have a good weekend. Peace out.